What is going on, guys? It's Modern Warfare here. Welcome back to another PS3 tutorial. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to install mod menus on the Call of Duty games for the jailbroken PS3. I'm going to show you how to install all the different types of mod menus so that you'll be able to install a mod menu on literally any Call of Duty game for your jailbroken PS3. So I'll put a link in the description to the playlist which has all the previous episodes I've done on the PS3 so far, so you can get caught up. So what we're going to do first of all here is we're going to head into settings and we're going to go down to system settings, which I always skip past for some reason. But then we go down to system information and grab our IP address. Make sure your PS3 is connected to your network and you have a valid IP address so that we can connect to our PS3 using FTP on our computer. Okay, so heading over to the computer, you can see I've got the mod menus here, and we're going to go ahead and run an FTP client like FileZilla or WinSCP. So put in the IP address of your PS3 into the host box, and then put in 21 as the port number and connect, and that will connect you to the file system of your PS3. So we're going to go into HDD0 and then get a mod menu. So let's do Modern Warfare 2 first. So I have a menu here for Modern Warfare 2, and all these menus I just downloaded from the description of random people's YouTube videos. So full disclosure, they may not be, the greatest mod menus. These are just random menus, but the process is the same, so it doesn't matter. So we're going to go ahead and extract this here. And this is the most common type of mod menu you'll find, which is an SPRX menu. So you've got a SPRX file here and an eboot.bin. So the SPRX file is the menu itself, and the .bin file is a modified executable for the game that is modified to load this SPRX file. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back onto FileZilla here, and we're going to go to the TMP folder. And the SPRX file just goes in here. So it just goes in this TMP folder, in the root of this folder, right there. Then the eboot.bin has to go in a different location. So you need to find out, if you go into games, if your game is stored here, that is, you need to find out what the title ID of the game is. So my copy of Modern Warfare 2 here, it came with the title ID in the file name, so it's BLUS 30377. So I know that that's the right title ID. Your title ID may be different if you're using a different version of the game. So you can find the title ID on, the case of the game, or maybe on the disc. If you've downloaded the game, then you'll probably find it wherever you downloaded it from, or maybe the ISO or the extracted game files will be named with the title ID in the name, like mine is, so that you know what the title ID of the game is. Once you know the title ID, we can then go into the game folder and then find that title ID. So there it is right there. And then go into the USR-dir folder. And this is the file we're replacing here, the eboot.bin, the executable for the game. Now we could just overwrite the one that's in here with our modified one, but then that makes it really annoying to try and go back to, a normal stock version of the game if you ever want to remove the menu, or if the menu doesn't work or it's causing freezing issues and you want to go back, then you don't want to overwrite this original eboot. So what we're going to do is we're going to rename it. So I'm just going to call it orig for original. So original underscore eboot. And then I'll take the modified one and put it in here. So the game will now load the modified one instead of the original, but we still have the original in here that we can rename back if we ever want to go back to a stock version of the game without any mods installed. Alright, so that's it. This menu should now work. So if we head back over to the PS3 right here and we load our game, I'm not going to bother going online for this because, I already showed that in the previous episode. Okay, and when the game loads up here, you'll see that you'll get a notification if the menu has been loaded successfully. So it does say that it has been loaded, so we're all good. So I'm just going to a LAN game here, create game, start game. Now one thing to note is that you should make sure that your game is already updated before you put the menu on, because otherwise the eboot will get overwritten. Your modified eboot will get overwritten by the update eboot.bin. So make sure you've installed the latest update for the game and then put the menu on after that. So as you can see here, it works. It says press up for the menu, and there's the menu. It works absolutely fine, no problem. You can go into no clip here and fly around. So there we go, that's a menu for Modern Warfare 2, and you'll find that most menus are similar to that. Most mod menus for Call of Duty games are SPRX menus, just like that one. If we go ahead and delete that now, we open up this Modern Warfare 3 menu just as an example. This is also an SPRX menu, so it's got a modified eboot.bin and a folder instead of an SPRX file, but the SPRX file is in that folder. So you would just put the eboot.bin in the game folder like we just did with Modern Warfare 2, and then just put the whole Prometheus folder here in the TMP directory, just like we did with the nightmare.sprx file. So you'll find that that's the same for most COD games. There's SPRX menus for even COD 4 and World at War, and Modern Warfare 2, of course, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 1, Ghosts, Advanced Warfare. They all have these SPRX menus, but there are some other types of menus as well, so we are going to look at some of those. So older games like COD 4 and World at War can run GSC menus. So we've got a menu here, so wasted menu, and this is a GSC menu for COD 4, and it's different. So if we go into the PS3 version of the game, you can see it's just one file called patch_mp.ff. So if we extract that out to our desktop here, so this file basically contains GSC files and config files within it, which contain the menu. So we're going to go back on to FileZilla here. So what we do with this one, because it is a little bit different, if I go back into the games, you can see I've got COD 4 installed here, and its title ID is BLUS 30072. So we're going to go into the game folder. We're going to look for that title ID. There it is, BLUS 30072, and then we're going to the USR-dir folder, and we're just going to copy this file in here. And as you can see, there's already one that already exists. So if you want to ever remove the menu, then rather than overwriting this, just, rename this to, original or something, and then put your modified one in this folder. And there we go. That's it. You've got the menu installed. That's the only file that you have to add in there. So if we go into the Webman games again, PlayStation 3, we'll load COD 4 this time. And just go ahead and load this up once it appears. There we go. Okay, so I've loaded up multiplayer here. Again, I'm just going to go into a LAN game. Of course, you can use these menus online. Just follow the previous episode on how to get connected online. So we're going to load up this game, and we should have the menu loaded. Again, make sure you have the latest update installed before you install the menu. That's important. So yeah, R2 to open the menu, and R1 and L1 to scroll up and down. And then we can, press square to select. And there you go. So that's how you install a GSC menu, basically, for COD 4 and World at War. Now, did I say? I don't think I mentioned it, but you can also do GSC mods on Black Ops 2, but it works very differently, because this method of using a patch_mp.ff file was patched in the newer CODs, so that this method no longer works for newer COD games. But luckily there is a way to inject GSC files directly into the game on Black Ops 2, so that's what we're going to be covering next. Okay, so Black Ops 2 is a bit more complicated because it uses a GSC Injector. Now the downside to that is that it takes a bit of more setup. You have to do quite a few things to get it set up, but once you have it set up, you can switch between different menus on the fly while you're in game, which is pretty cool. Like if you want to switch to a zombie mod menu when you're playing zombies, and then switch to a multiplayer menu when you go to play multiplayer, you can do that with it, which is pretty cool. So to help explain it, I'm just going to put the post up here that will be linked in the description, which is the post for the GSC Injector. Now I know this is not the best GSC Injector to use. I'm just using this one right now because it's not an RPC GSC Injector. Those are kind of the best ones to use because they're much easier to set up and use, where you essentially remotely connect to your PS3 using a mod tool and then inject the GSC file over your network. And we will be covering that stuff in a future episode, RPC tools. I'll be doing a separate tutorial for that. There are also, mod menus for Ghosts and Advanced Warfare that work in a similar way, where you have to remotely connect a tool from your computer to the console and then inject the menu that way. So we will be covering that in a future episode, but for now we're just sticking with non-RPC methods of modding your games right now, and we'll get around to that in a future episode. If you click here to download the GSC Injector, so you just go ahead and download the files. the config file and the sprx file. And then you're also going to want either the modified eboot.bin or a t6mp_ps3f.self file. And I'd recommend using that file instead of the modified eboot, because the modified eboot won't let you switch between zombies and multiplayer, whereas the T6MP will. So you can switch between a zombie menu and a multiplayer menu on the fly. That's one of the big advantages of being able to use this GSC Injector, is that you can switch between multiple mod menus while you're on the game, which is pretty handy. And it also includes anti-ban, because Black Ops 2 is one of the games that has an inbuilt ban system built into the game that will ban you within the first 5 minutes if it detects that you're on, custom firmware or running mods. So the anti-ban strips that from the self file or the eboot file, and that way it will not, you won't get banned because the checks have been removed essentially. So what we're going to do is download the self file. Now if we open this up, you can see that there's different ones for the different title IDs, so you need to make sure you know what version of Black Ops 2 you have and which title ID it is, and then download the self file that corresponds to that title ID. So then what we're going to do is, download some menus. So I've got the zombie menu for Black Ops 2, and then I've also got the Jiggy menu, Jiggy V4, which is a multiplayer menu. Okay, so now that we have the files downloaded, let's go ahead and install the GSC Injector first, and then we'll go ahead and install some menus. So to install the GSC Injector, you want to go into dev_hdd0, and then you want to go into the TMP directory, the same place we put our sprx menus, and then we're going to copy the BO2 GSC Injector.sprx and the config file into the TMP folder right there. Then create a new directory and just call it the same name. So I'll copy the name here and create directory and just call it BO2 GSC Injector, obviously without the .config at the end. So create a folder with the same name, and then our self file that goes in the game folder. So we go into game, we go into the title ID, so bless01717 for me anyway, and then usrdir. And then of course we're going to take the original t6mp_ps3f.self and rename it, so we have a backup of our original. And then we'll take our modified one, copy that in there, and where is it? There it is. And then we'll rename it and get rid of this so that it's just called t6mp_ps3f.self. And there we go. So now our modified one's in there. So that's the GSC Injector installed, so it'll work now. So now we need to install some menus. So if we head back into the TMP folder and go into the BO2 GSC Injector. So this is where we're going to add our menus. So we're going to take our zombie menu, copy this out to the desktop, and then if I go in here, it's got like a PC version, we'll delete that. We'll copy the maps folder out of here, get rid of this folder. So it's got the name of the menu and then maps, MP, game type ZM, and then the GSC file that it needs to load. So we're just going to copy that folder now into the BO2 GSC Injector folder, and then we'll install our other menu, which is Jiggy V4. So this just has a maps folder, so we'll create a folder with the name of the menu just for neatness. So Jiggy V4, and then we'll put the maps folder in there and copy the whole folder right into that same place. So there we go, we've got two menus in that folder, but they won't be loaded yet because we have to edit the config file to include these menus that we just added. So if we go down to the config file, so we're going to right click on the config file and view/edit, discard local file and download a new one. So that'll open up this. So right here is where we're going to add the mods, our different mod menus. So CFG mods 1 name, so that's just the name of the menu. So we'll do the zombie menu first. So if we head back into GSC Injector folder, so we've got this menu here. So we'll copy the name in here, and then we'll put in that it's a zombie menu as the description. And then there's two paths you have to add in here, which is kind of strange. One is like the path from this folder onwards, and then the other one is the full path from dev hdd0 all the way to your GSC file. Not entirely sure why it requires both, but for some reason it does, so we have to add that in. So the first path right here for this menu, if we go into maps, mp, game types, client IDs.gsc. So if you right click on the GSC file, you can copy URL to clipboard, and that'll copy the entire path in FTP. And then if I paste that into file 1, that copies the entire path. But obviously you don't want the FTP part, you just want the /dev hdd0, and you know, any 20s, replace those with spaces because they're supposed to be spaces. And there you go, that's the whole path copied in there. And then the shorter path that goes in the path_1 section, that is just starting at maps. So you start at maps, mp, game types, zm, client IDs.gsc. Alright, so there we go. So the next one we're going to add in is the Jiggy menu. So we copy that whole section and paste underneath for the second menu. So this is obviously going to be CFG mods 2. So rename these to mods 2. And there we go. So now we're going to rename this. So this is going to be Jiggy v4. So Jiggy v4. And then this is of course a multiplayer menu, not a zombie menu. So we'll put multiplayer menu. And then as for the path, we'll get rid of these and put in the path of our multiplayer menu. So that is, so Jiggy v4 maps mp. So we've got this file here. So we'll put that in there. So it starts off /dev hdd0. Get rid of that. And that's fine. And then of course the smaller path starts at maps. And that's that. But this has two files, two GSC files. It also has development devars.gsc. So with ones that have multiple files, you have to copy this, the path and the file, paste it in, and then change these to path number 2 and file number 2. And file number 2 is this development devars.gsc. So we'll just copy this. So it's development devars.gsc and development devars.gsc. Okay, so there you go. That's both mods installed. So now we can save this. And when you save this and close it, it will ask you to overwrite and copy it back to your hard drive of your PS3, which we've just done. And there we go, that's it. So that is how you install the GSC menu. So a bit convoluted, it takes a little while, but you know, you can imagine having like 10 different menus and then you can swap between them at any point once you're on the game. So even though it takes a long time to get set up initially, once you have it set up, it's really convenient to be able to switch between them. So let's head back over to the PS3. Okay, so now we're at the main menu. If we head into LAN game, create game. So in order to actually inject the menu, now when you first load up multiplayer or load up the game, you might get a notification saying that, you know, the injector is active. Because I've already done it before in the past, it doesn't come up. So you'll probably get notified, but if you don't, then don't worry about it, because you can switch between your different menus by holding down L2 and R2 up on the D-pad and triangle at the same time. So hold all 4 buttons at the same time and then release them, and then you'll get this popping up. So it says, you know, here's the menu. So it says select yes for inject the GSC mod, select no for switch to the next GSC mod, or press circle to close. So obviously we don't want to load the zombie menu right now, so we'll say no, and then it will go to the other menu, Jiggy menu. So we'll say yes because we want to load this menu, and we'll say yes. And there we go, the menu's loaded. So now I can start the match. And again, if you were online, you could do it here as well and go into an online match or force host or do custom games. No menu showing up yet, but there we go. There's the menu. And we're good. Now, actually, how do you open this menu? I can't even remember. Is it start up and... Should have looked this up first. Ah, there you go. Aim and knife. That's typically what it is on Black Ops 2. So yeah, there you go. You got a huge menu here. So there's a multiplayer menu running right there. So that's another GSC menu running, this time on Black Ops 2. So yeah, an X to close the menu. So let's have a look at a zombie menu and see if that works as well. So we'll go ahead and end game. And this is the thing, if you use the modified eboot file that you could have used instead of the self file that we used, then you wouldn't be able to switch between multiplayer and zombies. You'd have to, you know, back out, quit the game, then go back on the game, go on zombies, and then load the menu. But because we use the self file, we should be able to just stay on the game here and just switch to zombies and then load our zombie menu, and it should work. One thing with these menus is it does tend to be really laggy. Like, I had to press X on that like 3 times, but the lag should dissipate after a certain amount of time. So, and once you're in the game, it should be fine. So yeah, we'll select a game here, survival, and now we'll do the L2, R2, and triangle and up at the same time. Yep, there we go. And then we'll say yes to load the zombie menu this time. So yes, and there we go, that's it loaded. Start match. And now we should have a zombie menu when we load this game up. Yep, there it is. L1 plus R3 to open the menu. And we drink some quick revive, and there it is. Menu is up. So yeah, there you go, guys. That is how you install GSC menus on Crouch to Fly, really. Whoa, okay. This is weird. So yeah, anyway, that is basically it. That's how you install mod menus on your jailbroken PS3 for the Call of Duty games. We looked at SPRX menus, which are the most common for most COD games. But then we also looked at GSC mods with, you know, a patch mp.ff file for older COD games like COD 4 and World at War. And of course, Gse injectors for Black Ops 2, allowing you to switch between different menus on the fly, which is pretty damn awesome. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video.